In this presentation, I'm going to talk about how you can use compost tea and some general applications of compost tea. How you use compost tea depends upon your particular gardening needs. The compost tea can be used at every watering or just weekly. Ideally, it should be applied early in the morning and/or when the temperature is below 80 degrees Fahrenheit. It can be used undiluted or diluted. Compost tea can be used for soil preparation. It can be used as a soil drench by soaking the soil prior to planting, or soaking the soil around the root zone of growing plants. It is suggested that you use 1 gallon of tea mixed in enough water to drench about 100 square foot of growing area, or a gallon of compost tea mixed in 20 to 50 gallons of water. Compost tea can be used as a foliar feed by being sprayed on the plant's leaves. Make sure that you cover all the foliage on the plant. You can use a pump sprayer or a hose end sprayer. Be careful not to atomize the compost tea, as this can damage the microbes. For some crops, foliar nutrition may be the most economical and reliable method of providing some nutrients, especially micronutrients. It is suggested that you dilute 1 gallon of compost tea to 4 to 6 gallons of water. The following highlights some general applications of compost tea. When using compost tea on seeds, determine which kind of compost tea is appropriate for the plants. Soak the seeds in the compost tea for about 12 to 24 hours before planting. Then drench the soil in which the seeds are to be planted. For maintenance feeding, drench the soil around the seedlings every 1 or 2 weeks during the growing season. Avoid overwatering. When using compost tea on seedlings or transplants, determine which compost tea is appropriate for the plants. Drench the soil prior to planting. Foliar feed with no dilution. For maintenance feeding, drench the soil around the seedlings every 1 or 2 weeks during the growing season. Avoid overwatering. When using compost tea on annuals and perennials, for annuals use a bacterial dominant compost tea. For perennials, use a fungal dominant compost tea. For a mix of annuals and perennials, consider using an equal ratio of bacterial and fungal compost tea. Drench the soil prior to planting. Foliar feed with no dilution. For maintenance feeding, drench the soil around the plant's root zone every 1 or 2 weeks during the growing season. The amount of compost tea used will vary with the size of the plant. Avoid overwatering. When using compost tea on plants with diseases, determine which compost tea is appropriate for the plants. Foliar feed with no dilution at the first sign of disease. Discontinue when the plant appears to be recovering.